Hi everyone, this is Francisco, and surprisingly, I come up with another idea. And this one is pretty trippy because it has to do with physics. But anyway, not to get too into depth, I was thinking about honestly, I was thinking about how I can remove tar, ash, waste out of a container that is burning. And I was thinking, how would I be able to remove that? And not just that, but where none of the liquid or liquids out from the container, out of the container, how would this work? So in my mind, I instantly thought, well, it'll work if there is a net that went around the container, and then somehow eventually zipping that net up. And when you zip it up, basically it'll all the netting will come together like a fish net. So now you will basically have like a outline of a raindrop, but it's made out of in this case out of a net. So basically it'll be a net raindrop, not an outline. I'm sorry. So basically it'll be like a raindrop. And what happens when water rolls down a surface like that? When water runs down, it'll typically roll on anything that's circular. The water will roll before dropping down eventually, right? Especially on like a ball, a circle, a sphere. If there's water on top of it, it's going to go around. Once it meets the center of the bottom, then it will drop down. So thinking about that, I thought about a netting. And it's an invention not only for maybe the fire department, but it is also an invention for people who cook food, because different sizes of netting can be introduced to cooking pans, and when it's ready to pull the veggies out or whatever it is that you're cooking, it would just be a matter of pulling that up and then, putting it like in the sink or something. Because right now, what cooks have to go through is if they're using water, because my mom cooked a lot and I witnessed her, and I seen her cooking for me and my brothers and my sisters as I was growing up. Well, my cousins and all them, right? And like everyone. But I see my mom cooking, and basically she would have to dump the water into the sink. And sometimes she would get burned. The water was super hot. It was boiling hot. So what people have even thought of is plates with little holes in them, and basically it filters the water out so the food can stay above this pan. And It's like a drainer. So technically, the basket, I'm sorry, the netting will actually act as the water filter. It'll filter the water out, and when you pull it up, it will just be whatever it is that you cooked in the water, or even vegetable. It's pretty much like a, now that I think about it, like a French fry basket at a fast food chain, a fast food restaurant. Which reminds me, I don't even think I've eaten like all day. Oh, I did eat. I ate 4 hot dogs. Anyways, I'm just feeling a little bit hungry. But yeah. So you guys see the metal baskets where they dip into the oil, and then eventually they pull it out. So if you're cooking a fish in or a bunch of fish and you're deep frying them, and you just want to get the food out without using a spoon to dig and fish the fish out, your food, to fish stuff out with a little spatula with holes. Instead of doing all that, you will just basically let it remove as much liquid or liquids from whatever it is that you lifted up. And then once you do that, you can put it on another bowl or a plate, and your food will be ready. All you would have to do from that point on is, you know, because I'm thinking that it will zip up, kind of like a Ziploc bag, you know. But once you release the string, I'm I'm thinking the netting will open up where the food can be then served or placed in a different container or whatever, right? So you also have to factor that in, that um, um, concept, that this whole concept, it has to work together. It works congruently, it does. So not just that, but I don't know. I just thought about that idea, and I also did think of, now that I think about it, if firefighters or people who recycle in other way, to, especially if you're using oil, is to use this type of netting that I'm talking about, because it won't get burned. The outside of it that's exposed to the flames will, but for the most part, the netting, the metal netting or whatever, will be inside of the oil. And then not just that, but once it's pulled out, it can be dumped on a more higher elevated container, which will have a 45-degree angle slope. So whatever is placed up here, the oil will naturally roll down back into the fluid, or I'm sorry, to the fuel, which in this case is oil. So this is for more high industrial businesses and concept. But nevertheless, you can look at it from, it's not up to scale. You can look at it like a little, miniature lantern type of fire, to something humongous for people, for, like waste management, and them to recycle and to burn bacteria or toxins or whatever really can't be placed back on Earth, or in Earth or whatever, for whatever reason, right? And those reasons are not stated, and I will not state any. It's just as an example, you know. So I just thought about this idea because, you know, here I am. I'm burning a little. I have like a little homemade lantern going, and I'm using a pan. It's a pretty big pan, actually, and I'm even thinking about purchasing a much bigger pan with more surface area. So technically, you know, depends on the pan. If the pan is squared and it's say 2 feet by 2 feet, then and netting won't be necessary or required. It would just be a matter of getting like a spatula that has a like a netting pattern, a bunch of little holes so the oil can or the water can come out, right? But that's going back to the first idea, the original idea, why I started, the recording of. So I just wanted to just share this very quickly in case this idea can be adopted and presented to cooks all over the world. And, if it's a boo idea, then it's a boo idea. If it's a good idea, then it's a great idea, and I just wanted to bless all you. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned if if you really like this idea. There's also some other ones that I actually posted on Facebook on the page Invent or Don't Invent. So that's invent or don't invent. Thank you and God bless.